Hey everyone! All right, round 3. I'm so excited to have this conversation, especially with Evans, but I'm asking the question, the loaded question. True or false, your energy has nothing to do with your level of sales and productivity. And so, by the way, I'm Sensei Victoria Whitfield from naturalintuition.com. But first, before we launch into this question, I want y'all to get to know my friend, this incredible visionary man who's going to be answering, giving his point of view. So, Evans, if you could share who you are, what you do, where people can find you, also so they know where you're coming from when you express your point of view. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I'll keep it short and sweet. I'm a coach and consultant, been doing it for about 20 years now. And I help podcasting entrepreneurs with big positive messages and missions create profitable, scalable dream client businesses that change lives using what I like to call the reciprocity scaling and selling system. So I teach people how to make money without selling. So I don't know if that ties into the question or not. So, but it's a little deeper than that, right? But and if you want to find out more about me and to check out some cool case studies, some testimonials, client results, go to dreamclientsforlife.com. That's dreamclientsforlife.com, and then just find me on Facebook. Shoot me a message. Let's chat.
Yeah. All righty. I love it. I love it. So, and I'll drop in the comments section that link as well, dreamclientsforlife.com.
Awesome.
So, to this question then, my brother from another mother, Evans, true or false, your energy has nothing to do with your level of sales and productivity. Go.
I say false.
Okay.
So is that it? Are we done now? No, yeah, definitely false. But it's funny is I started thinking a little bit about this. I didn't want to go too deep into it because I like to just sort of be in the moment, right? Just be, not thinking about the future too much. But I was thinking about, in the past, it's not that I would have answered differently, but I would have thought of energy differently.
Ooh.
In the past, I thought of it more as something that came out to within, right? Like we have a power company that provides us power. We do, things that provide us energy. But then over the past, and it's something that was probably brewing in me for a little while too, but I'd say probably in the past 3 years specifically from some of the life changes and things I've done. Now it's more of an internal, but not necessarily I'm going to go real far crazy on this, not necessarily generating it internally, but creating something within ourselves that then aligns with what's already there. So sort of creating that internal vibration that then creates a coherence with the vibration of energy that's already there. So I think that definitely is something that would help with anybody's production or sales.
This is why I love you. This is why you're my brother from another mother. Every piece, I swear. Oh man, you have to explain more. More. Explain me as if, like.
Okay, so here's what I would. Well, it's funny because I come from a person that hated math and science, didn't do well. And then all of a sudden I started stumbling into like quantum physics and loved it. Right. So it sort of comes from that whole thought process that everything's already there, that all we have to do is tap into it. But in order to do that, to find that energetic vibration that's going to benefit us as entrepreneurs or as just human beings, you have to raise your own vibration. And some of the ways that I've learned to do that are just simple, like, practicing gratitude, meditating, looking at things from an appreciation rather than expectation. And I have to give credit to Tony Robbins for that, because he said that really made me think. But for me, it's really about having that intention to be on the right vibrational frequency when I go into a sales call or when I go into any call. And to be honest, what I do in the mornings, I don't do this. I'm trying to do this more often. So I have to be 100% authentic, but I try to do my best to not have an expectation. The only thing I want to do when I wake up in the morning, if I know I've got 3 or 4 sales calls, is to think, okay, how can I serve these people at the highest level? And go into it with that type of intentional vibration, that type of energetic vibration. And it tends to benefit me and the other person much more, rather than thinking, okay, I've got to go in here to close 3 sales, right? And coming from a scarcity viewpoint. So it's more of an abundant viewpoint of just thinking, okay, how can I serve this person? How can I help them? And then if you start on that energetic level, then you just go into the conversation in a much better place for both people involved in it.
I couldn't agree more. Because you're detached, and that detachment is open, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. And you being that open gives, like, all the stress or the pressure on the sale lifts. It just lifts off of it. You're in your heart, you're in gratitude. That person gets to drop into their heart and be resonant on that frequency. And then
definitely
the right unfolding happens for all involved. But I'm curious, Evans.
Mm-hmm.
What is energy? Can I open another can of worms? Like, how would you what are you defining as energy and vibration? Because, like, there's the electrical engineer in me that has, like, a special flavor of, like, well, right. So we're talking positive and negative currents, grounding, currents, and circuitry and that sort of thing. But then there's also the spiritual practitioner in me that knows that there's some sort of ambient life force energy. But then on top of that, there's the therapist in me that knows that there's some sort of emotional energy. Like, give it to me. So when you're talking about energy and vibration, what are you talking about? Give me more of that.
Oh, God, I wish I could give you like some kind of like profound, perfect answer, but I don't think there is one, right? I mean, I'm the same way. To me, it's like when you just said like the electrical engineering side of you, I could like automatically in my head, I saw this image of like a switch, not necessarily a light switch, but a switch that made connection and energy running across it, right? So it's similar. It's even similar to that, right? Where we have to open that connection to bring the energy into ourselves. But I would say for me, the point that I'm looking at it now is that it's almost like a conscious energy that's always there, and that we just have to get on the right vibration to be able to match it, right? We can have we can look at things the opposite of gratitude and think about the negative, and we tap in. The way I see it is we don't actually create the negative energy, but by putting ourselves in that vibrational state, we then become that negative energy. Mm-hmm. So I think it's hard to answer that question exactly, like what it is, because I think it is. I mean, I grew up, like probably you did too, in a materialistic viewpoint from everything we learned in school. And now it's sort of going in a different direction where everything I see it's not materialistic. It's more of, looking at things of being created from vibration and energy. That it's just something that's there all the time. We just have to learn how to use it in a way that benefits us. And it's really not hard if you think of, gratitude and, like you said, no attachment, no expectation, living in joy and peace and love on that plane. Then you always have the positive energy at your, right there waiting for you to tap into it and use it. So, and I think it's important because if you look at it, when you have conversations with people, even like this, if you can feel the energy of the conversation even through a computer.
Oh yeah.
Right. So it's important to have that right thought when you go into it and to be on that right energetic level when you go into it. Otherwise, you're going to just have a disconnect between you and the person when you're having a discussion. And I mean, I'm sure we've all been there before. I've done presentations before where I've gone in and like talked to like a group of like 10 people through a Zoom call. And I'm just like, wow, that just felt like it was almost like a state of flow. Like it just came out. It felt right. I didn't feel like I had any type of agenda. It was just coming out of me. It was coming through me and then back out of me. I don't know. It's hard to explain, but it reminds me of when I played, I used to play basketball, and I did have those few times where it was like everything, like I was just in the moment, the exact moment, and everything was flowing and every shot was going. I remember like the one time I actually was coaching these kids. I was their coach, but we didn't have enough people to scrimmage. So I just ran out there and played with them, and everything I threw up went in. And I just like, as a whim, I'm like, I'm just going to try something crazy. I came down and I'm so far away, and I just sort of threw the ball and didn't even look at the goal, and it went right in. And I was like, okay, this is like the craziest flow I've ever been in. But it was that sort of, I didn't have an expectation. I didn't put a thought out like, oh, I'm not going to make this. I am going to make this. I just did. I was just being in the moment. So I think if people can think back to a time when they have felt that, because almost all of us have felt it. It doesn't have to be sports. It could be, just when you're writing and it just seems to be flowing, when you're doing something and you just feel like you're in that moment. If you can think back to what that feeling felt like, you can try to bring that feeling into yourself and help recreate that to raise that energetic level before you go into these calls. So, I mean, I have no doubt that if you don't come from things with the right energy, it's not going to benefit you or the other person that's involved in the conversation.
Yeah. And as you say that, I'm aware of how it goes both ways. It goes both ways. So like, as I think about sitting on sales calls, and by the way, I have to give a special shout out to Nico Noriega trained me how to close like a beast, and I'm so grateful for it. And when I've come to sales calls before with like a lower vibrational energy, wondering like, oh, I don't know if I'll be able to sell this person, or oh, like I gotta meet my numbers, sort of a frustration, it derails the whole process. And then changing the seats of being the person on the phone with a salesperson in that kind of an energy. I've also been on that end of it, of being on the end of the phone, like, oh, I don't know if I don't feel very comfortable with this, or, oh, I got to make this sale. And the sliminess, like there's a distinct kind of slime sensation that I get being on the other end of that. I'm like, oh, I don't want to buy anything from this person. I don't feel comfortable. Whereas the best, like the best sales experiences I've had is I'm like, as a person wanting to buy, I'm like, oh my God, and I'm talking about all my problems, and I don't know, I feel completely vulnerable, but in a safe way. Like I'm talking to someone who's like, yeah, tell me more, or what about that, or how, like, or can I help you with that, or would you like support with that? That's sort of an open, curious, not attached, just having that would give me the space to make really powerful decisions. And that's what the sales call is all about, is holding space. Well, this is what I believe, and you tell me how you feel, Evans, brother, because we all have our own points of view, and that's what I want to hear, is everyone's point of view. What I feel the object of a sales call is to hold space for the person who's coming to the call to make a decision, whatever the decision is. But sometimes you just need someone to hold it down and protect you and keep all of the clarity and alignment, as well as light, to be whatever your decision is. Like it's not like a selling thing, it's like a decision thing for me. But how about you? How do you?
No, I think that's great. And it's funny because I came from a total different, like I used to do outside sales for a radio station
Ah,
and for a sign company and think, like those real world businesses, right? Before I got into this world. And to me, it was all about, like, here's what you do. You follow this script, you go in here, you do this, you do, if the, and it was so, the energy, I just couldn't have the right kind of energy. I could never be successful enough because it just didn't feel authentic. And it didn't feel like it was about, in your case, it didn't feel like it was about the customer or the potential or the prospect. It felt like it was about me, sort of making them bow to my will and do what I wanted them to do, where it was the total opposite. And then once I started, and it took a while learning from different people. Like you mentioned, Nico, I didn't learn from him, but I mean, I've learned from some really cool people and have discovered a different process, right? Where it's really like what you said, it's more about listening. It's more about the person. And if it's not a right fit, if it's something that doesn't even feel right, and if I know there's somebody that can do it better, that can help them, then I would rather them go over there, right? It's all about serving that person's needs and, like you said, holding space for them, listening to them, really getting to know what they need and understanding their mindset and where they're at and whether they're ready to do the next thing. It may be that you're like, hey, just go listen to, these podcasts. And then as you grow your business, let's talk like in 6 months.
yes.
So there's a lot of different ways of looking at it, but it's really all about, it needs to be about them and having the energy, the right energy when you go into that to realize that it's not about you, it's about them. So I think it's a learning process and finding the way that works for you.
Mhm.
So, and and I've even been at the point where I knew where my energy level wasn't right. And I've canceled like calls before because I'm like, I'm going to go in and that person's going to realize that I'm sort of in a sort of imposter syndrome type of day, or I don't feel right today. It's just something off and I didn't want to force it. But there's been other times where I've sort of taken steps where I do believe, you can sort of create a physical energy by moving a little bit and getting yourself awake. And then, coming from the right place of no expectation, gratitude to create that sort of mental energy or spiritual energy, whatever you want to call it. But then there's also, eating right. Because I come from a health and fitness background. There's also eating right to make sure you fuel yourself that way. So there's so many different levels of energy within that we can, and things we can do to make sure we're on that right energetic level. Right. So, but the one thing that I'm still exploring all these things, but for me, I still believe that it's all about matching the right energetic level that's already there for you at any time that you ever want to tap into it. It's there waiting for you and it's available to you. But you have to do those things like take care of yourself physically, mentally, feed yourself right, make sure you're emotionally in the right place. And then that helps you hit that vibrational match of that energy.
What I love, what I'm hearing, many things I love what I'm hearing, but what I'm hearing in you, Evans, is this holistic approach to managing your energy. So knowing that like there's self-care, you could just say like, all right, I brushed my teeth today and that was it.
Right.
Versus what food and fuel have I put into this body? Have I taken this body for a walk or a nice run or a nice lift?
Mm-hmm.
Have I fed this body's mind with nutritious ideas and ideals and words and images? Have I also fueled myself as in taking care that all my I's are dotted and T's are crossed, that I'm not making promises to myself that are being left on the back burner, right? So keeping your word to yourself, like how we manage energy. What I love what you're getting into here is like that holistic aspect to it, is that it's not just one facet. I think when I think back to all the times that I've seen energy gone wrong, or just not managed well, I would have to say 9 times out of 10, and I could think of so many examples. I was like, "Woo, that was bad. Ooh, that was awful." It's this focus on like only one type or one note of energy, one aspect. So, such as seeing only the financial transaction in a sale, and that's the only energetic exchange that you're looking at, versus even the physical. Like if you're how you sound on the phone. I remember, like you used to sell radio stuff. I used to sell pens, engraved pens, with the script and everything, and who you're supposed to ask for at the company. Like never talk to the receptionist, all the things. So right there with you, I remember that. And I remember one of the first things that they taught is smile when you're talking on the phone, so that sonically your voice is more pleasing. And it was that's something as simple as just shifting your physical orientation can influence the sale, and or how much flow you get, such as speaking to people on the phone. So that holistic element, I think, is a really powerful point for you to bring up, Evans.
Well, one thing real quick that I'll say that you just mentioned too that made a lot of sense was, and this was something that it took a while for me to figure out because of where sort of throughout my journey, right? My entrepreneurial journey, it used to be very transactional. That was the energetic level of the sale, was the transaction. Because I started, before we're going back like 15 years or so when I was doing freelancing, and it was all a lot of project based, right? It was the transaction to where when I really started seeing success that came in on a regular basis was when it switched from transaction to transformation. When I thought about how can I help this person have a transformation to get that transformation that they want, that you hear when you're holding space for them, when you're having the conversation and you're listening, and they'll tell you, I'm here and I'm really in pain and I really need to be here. This is where I want to be in the transformation I want. Can you help me get there? All right. Before it was all just like, it was almost like an on-off switch, right? When we're talking mechanics of energy and your electrical engineering background, it was like, okay, transaction on or off, where now it's more just open and more of like a conscious transformational energy, right? So you're really focusing on how can I really serve this person and give them a transformation. And that changes everything, because when you focus on that, then the sales come in, the referrals come in, the renewals come in, the higher profit margins come in, everything changes.
Yeah. Orienting to transformation is serving at the highest level. Right? And so that's what I'm hearing in what you're saying there, brother. And that you orienting to serving at the highest level also increases your profit margins.
Yeah. I mean, and when if you can focus on that and then deliver that, which is the next most important thing, right? So the sale doesn't end that's what's different about the transaction. It doesn't end when you hand them something and you walk away and you're done. You give them that transformation and you fulfill that promise. Then next thing you know, the next sales are easier and easier because they're bringing people to you. Mm-hmm. And they're like, hey, you need to go work with Victoria. You need to go work with Victoria. You need to go meet my friend Victoria, right? So it's like, okay, then that becomes a really easy sales process. And, once you start getting some of those under your belt, and then it makes all the other sales calls even easier because it raises your energy so much that you're getting all the success from these easier sales calls, that the tougher ones, the cold ones, now become almost like a cakewalk because you have so much success.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. People arrive And that's all they need. They arrive just to make the decision because the proof was already there. The resonance, right, was already there. The transformation has already been shown. So the only reason why they're showing up now at this point is just be like, okay, last domino. Oh, yeah. I was 90% ready, and now, wham, let's do it. I love it. Oh my gosh, Evans, this is
and I've been on the other side of that too, right? So like when people have referred me to other people, I go right, and I'm just like, okay, I've already got my card out. I'm ready before they even start talking. So if you've experienced that, then you know how important it is to deliver that from your side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And to celebrate that and to really focus on that. You know, we can go. I need us to talk more, Evans. Can I say that? I need us to talk more.
Anytime. We didn't even talk about the energy of music, which is how we ended up connecting in the first place, right? So we'll save that for another. We'll leave that loop open for the next time.
Oh my gosh. Game on. Because when you were talking about being in the flow with basketball, thinking about think back to a time in your life when you were in flow. I was like, I immediately went back to my music background of like every note hitting it. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Right to enter into it. Whether I'm making the notes or witnessing like a guitarist, just really talk through the instrument. But I gotta calm down. We can keep going, and we will. We're gonna keep this conversation going because I love you, and
awesome.
I hear all the things from Evans.
I would love it anytime.
Awesome. And so as we come to a close, like I celebrate that we're having this conversation as we get ready for my very first totally rebranded 5-day challenge. It was interesting you're talking about different kinds of energy because the object of the challenge this time, this is the 15th time I'm doing a challenge. 15th.
Wow.
And like what I do is I help conscious entrepreneurs increase their productivity and profits through using strategic meditation, right, and getting their energy in line. Day 1, we focus on your physical energy. Day 2, we focus on your mental energy. Day 3, we focus on your emotional energy. Day 4, we focus on your environmental energy. And day 5, we focus on directional energy. And that was actually what you started talking about, how you started orienting to something different. So orienting to the transaction of the sale versus changing your direction and orienting to the transformation, right? Where's and that change in directional energy is all the difference. And we have a bonus day on Saturday too, where we talk about financial energy in case someone's watching who isn't closing sales yet. You are going to we're going to grab you and make sure that you are changing people's lives because that's all that sales is about. But 5-day Be Visionary Challenge, we're going to hold each other accountable to being the vision that we see for ourselves and our lives as a community. You're welcome to hop in, Evans, everyone. The link should be in the description to register. We start on Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern, every night, all week. And so that's there. And I'm just, again, Evans, so grateful to just to get to witness you talk about energy, brother. I just it makes my heart so happy.
No, that was fun. And let's just let everybody know too. I had no idea that these were the topics you were going to be covering, so I didn't even. I had an empty space of energy coming into this where I was just like, okay, I don't even know what we're going to talk about. We're just going to have an awesome conversation like we always do, and it led right down the right path, right? So that's perfect.
It's so perfect. Yay. Wonderful. And on that note, we're going to come to a close. Everyone remember, enjoy the journey. Do not lose your glow as you grow in life and business. And we'll see you in the next live. Bye, everyone.
Bye, everybody.